If you love Dollar Tree and you love DIYs, then you are going to love today's video. This is my top 12 DIY projects of 2022. I'd like to thank Liquid IV for sponsoring today's video. All right, you guys, I am super excited because this is my top 12 DIY projects of 2022. There have been some really fun projects, and I put together a compilation for you guys that kind of highlight some of my favorite DIYs of 2022. So hopefully you will stick around and enjoy these. If you're brand new to the channel, welcome. Hopefully you will stick around and become a subscriber as well. And if you are one of my long-term subscribers, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate you and look forward to bringing you so many more new projects, not only in the rest of 2022, because I do have more projects coming, but also in the future. So thank you guys again, and I look forward to showing you some awesome projects that I'm super proud of.
All right, everyone, and for my first project, I'm going to take this wooden welcome sign that I picked up from 99-cent only store. It was $1.99, and it's about 18 inches long, which is great. It was retailed at $6.99, and I was able to get it for $1.99, so I was super happy. I also grabbed some of this garland from Five Below. If you're lucky enough to find the eucalyptus garland from Dollar Tree, then you could certainly use that. I have not been that lucky. And then I did grab this great oversized grapevine wreath. This was picked up at a yard sale for $3. The first thing I'm going to do is take my welcome sign outside, and I am going to spray paint it white. I did take it off of that backing that it comes with, but I just used that to just kind of, put it on there while I was doing the spray painting. I'm using a flat white matte paint from Rust-Oleum. I use this a lot, and I really like the coverage, and I'm just making sure that I'm getting in and around and everything. Now I'm going to take my eucalyptus garland, which is 40 inches long, and you have a couple options here. You can wrap it around, but I think that really wastes a lot. So what I actually do is I cut my garland in half. And when I cut my garland in half, I am giving the illusion like I am wrapping it completely around my I was going to say my vase, around my wreath here, and it makes it look nice and full, and I really love the effect that this is giving. So as you can see, I'm just kind of taking those pieces that I cut, I'm just kind of sticking them in the grapevine and then working my way around and then securing them once again in the grapevine. And I am going to do this with the other garland as well. So I did end up using two 40-inch bundles of garland, but this is a pretty big grapevine wreath, and it's also a pretty thick one. So once again, just kind of doing that same thing, kind of cutting this in half and then just tucking that in between that grapevine as I worked my way around. Now that it's all set and done, my welcome sign is also dry, so I am going to start to adhere that to my wreath. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and take it and glue it kind of in those higher spots on the wreath form itself. Now, the great thing about that wreath is that because it is wood, the regular wood glue that I'm using from Shore Ponder is going to work perfectly on this. And all I'm literally going to do is just take some of my glue, put it in each corner, and boom, you've got the most amazing looking welcome wreath. I love this so much. I've been wanting to do something with this grapevine wreath that I grabbed at that yard sale quite a while ago, and I am super happy with the way this one turned out.
Before we go any further, I do want to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Liquid IV. Now, I know I've talked about a lot of different products on my channel, but this one I can say I've honestly been using for well over a year now. And when I first discovered Liquid IV, I actually had COVID. I had COVID last year around the same time. And my doctor told me that it was super important for me to stay hydrated. And that was part of the recovery process. So when I started looking into different kind of, sports drinks alternatives that have electrolytes and hydration and different things like that, Liquid IV is the one that I found. And when they reached out and wanted to become a sponsor of my channel, I was like, absolutely, I love your product. What can I do for you guys? And I will say that Liquid IV has not only helped me feel better and stay hydrated throughout the year, but it also tastes really, really good. Like, it is probably one of the best drinks out there because it just has good flavor. There's good natural flavor, which I definitely appreciate. And it helps me get my water in. I don't know about you guys, but you know, I'm not a big water drinker like I should be doing. And with Liquid IV, it helps enhance the flavor of the water, and it is natural, first of all, so it tastes really, really good. This is the Concord grape flavor, and it does taste like a natural Concord grape would, and I so appreciate that. But this is 16 ounces, and I can drink this whole thing in like 30 seconds. You want to see? Let's do it. You want to do it? I'll do it right now. Let's do it. This is full. Just so you know, you see that beautiful grape liquid in there. All gone. I'm telling you, it's so good. It's so tasty. Now, hydration is important for a variety of reasons. Not only is it good for performance, but if you are working out in the sun, if you're working out in the heat, maybe you're cleaning out the attic or the basement, you want to stay hydrated when you're doing that kind of stuff. If you are traveling, we're going to be doing a ton of traveling coming up with the holiday season. You're going to want to stay hydrated because being hydrated makes you feel good. It makes you feel better. And just for overall wellness and immunities for our body, that is another reason why you want to stay hydrated. And Liquid IV is faster hydration than just drinking water alone. In fact, it hydrates you 2 times faster than just drinking water by itself. That's important. And most important, you're probably thinking, you know, what does it taste like? Well, I can tell you that Liquid IV is delicious. There is such a great natural flavor with all of their flavor packets, but this Concord grape has the best natural Concord grape flavor. I love the way it tastes. It actually smells really good too, and I know that's really random, but it smells as good as it tastes. I really do love all of the flavors. If you'd like to try Liquid IV's hydration multiplier for yourself, click the link in my description box below. You will save 20% and you will get free shipping if you use my code right here on screen. This is a great way to try Liquid IV. Also, this is the perfect stocking stuffer for the upcoming holidays, so why not give it a try? All right, guys, let's get back to that video. Thank you, Liquid IV, for sponsoring my video. I really, really, really appreciate it.
My next DIY is going to incorporate something that I found at the Dollar Tree in Los Angeles. This is a collapsible wreath stand, and I thought that this was actually really, really cool. It has a hook at the top where you can hang a wreath from it, but I have a different plan. I'm also going to use some of these wood skewers and then, of course, that welcome windmill that you saw. Can you take a guess on what I'm going to be doing here? First thing I'm going to do is you can see this part that doesn't really stay kind of on either side of this. So I'm just going to take some floral wire and I'm going to go ahead and just wire this and make sure that it does stay completely open. I don't want this to be collapsible anymore, so I'm kind of preventing that from happening. Again, I'm just taking some of my green floral wreath wire. I think I even picked this up at, I'm pretty sure I picked it up at Michael's and maybe even Dollar Tree, honestly. And I'm just going to go ahead and wire these to the frame, and then I'm going to go ahead and also tackle the backside as well. Now, for the backside, I did just kind of trim off some of that extra, and then I'm just going to bend this up. That way it does stay in place, and I can kind of help keep everything nice and secure. And then again, I'm just going to take some of that wreath wire and just wrap that all around there. After I did that, I did add a little bit of hot glue just to kind of help hold it in place a little bit, and because that side actually does slide back and forth and up and down, and I obviously want this to be as sturdy as possible. Now, you will notice because this is a wreath form stand, it is kind of leaning back a little bit, and it's doing that obviously because of the wreath that would have to be on it. So I'm going to go ahead and trim the bottom of mine. That way everything will stand nice and flat, and I'm literally just taking my lineman pliers, lining them up against my work surface, and as you can see, it worked out perfectly for me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue and just a little dab in the middle there, and I am going to take a bamboo skewer that I cut, and I am just going to outline this entire lower half of my windmill here. And I'm going to cut off any of the excess sticks. You could certainly pre-measure these and cut these if you wanted to. It's kind of in a hurry, to be honest. So I just did it this way, and it did work out fine. I just made sure everything was good and hardened. And then I just, took those alignment pliers and just hacked away at it. And as you can see, it worked out really well. Now, I'm going to use that base to start building my crisscrosses. And I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way up. And I'm going to do it on all 3 sides of my windmill. So I'm going to go ahead and just take some of my all-purpose hot glue from Shore Bonder, and I cut down the stick to the first kind of crisscross size that I wanted it to be. And then I'm going to just mimic this and just continue to go up and down all the way on the side of the windmill until I'm completely covering the other sides, or all of the sides, I should say. Now, I'm just kind of using that one that was there as my guide, and then as you can see here, I'm going to go on the back side of it, and I'm literally just going to start crisscrossing my way all the way up to the top, or at least almost all the way to the top. For one side of the windmill, I'm putting the sticks on the outside, and then for the other side, I'm putting the sticks on the back side, and this prevents it from kind of bubbling or bowing, and it also keeps it nice and flat. So hopefully that makes sense, and when you do try to do this yourself, you'll, I think, understand what I mean by that. So one across the front and then one in the back to complement the crisscross. And then as you will see, as I continue to kind of build my way up, I do have a few places that I should fill in there, and I'm starting to notice that actually as I'm going up. The other thing that I did was also add some pieces along the bottom. I didn't want to do a crisscross all the way down to the bottom because I was thinking originally that I was going to stick this out in a giant flower pot that I have outside, but instead this is probably just going to end up being something on my front porch. But I still want it to have that overall wood look, and so I am going to also give this a good, kind of a stronger foundation, if you will. Again, just by taking those wood bamboo skewers and just kind of holding them into place, almost knocking my tower over, and then going on again to the 3 sides along the bottom. And then also any of that black wiring that is still left that you can see there, I decided to go ahead and cover this with more of my wood skewers here. And I have a couple different sizes in that box, so that's kind of why I was searching through there and trying to find the ones that are about the right size. And again, I'm just going to cut these down and then just glue these right into place, making sure that everything is solid and everything is holding up well. And then I have a completely covered wooden windmill, or at least, a wood and metal windmill. Now it's time to take it outside and to get it spray painted. And for this next part, I'm going to take my lineman pliers and I'm going to go ahead and just separate these. I want the windmill and I do want to keep the welcome sign as well, but obviously the kind of blade part of the windmill, we're going to be using that at the top of our windmill. So I'm going to go ahead and just get in as close as I can with my lineman pliers there. And then I will go ahead and take another smaller pair of wire cutters and just trim that down a lot closer on the windmill portion itself. For that welcome sign, I'm just going to kind of straighten that out a little bit. And we're going to take these outside and spray paint them a dark steel. Now, for whatever reason, I didn't film the part of spray painting the windmill and the welcome sign, the dark steel color, but it's a dark steel from Rust-Oleum. And then I'm using Rust-Oleum's matte black for this here. I love the way that this paint is, and I really do like working with this. I use this a lot, obviously, in a lot of my DIYs. And for this, I actually only needed to do just 1 coat. Now that everything is dry, these are the dark steel pieces. Again, it is time to start assembling our windmill. So for the welcome sign, I just kind of figured out where it would fit the best on the windmill structure, and it's going to be right about here in the center where I'm adding some of my hot glue. For the hot glue, I am just going to add some in the middle and then on the end, and then I'm going to take my welcome sign and I'm just going to press it into place and just hold it until that glue sets up and holds it really, really nicely. And then at the very top where that little hook is, I added just a tiny bit of hot glue, and the windmill itself, because because it has a little hook on the back of it. I will be able to hold that into place, and you've got the cutest garden windmill. I love the way this looks. This stands about 18 inches tall, and it is so cute, and it looks so much more expensive than it really was. I think I paid, what, $3 for this if you include the price of the skewers. You can use it on your front steps. You can use it on your front porch. I think that there's a lot of great uses for this, and I really, really love the way that this looked. Go into the toys section, and I grabbed two of these kind of ball launcher things, and then I have some of these oversized Jenga blocks, and I'm going to use a set of these wood planks. I'm actually going to only be using 2 of those wood planks. So these Jenga blocks were given to me from a neighbor, and I've used just about all of them in all of my DIY projects. And they used to play games, and they had foster children, and they would write different sayings and things on them to remind their kids like how special they were, and they were involved in the community, and they would do a lot of things with foster kids and foster adoption. So that's kind of why you see some writing on the blocks and different things, and you may even notice things like adoption and different words like that. But I thought that they were really, really cool. I'm going to take 2 of those blocks and glue them together like you saw there. And then for the actual ball launcher thingamabob, I'm going to go ahead and launch that ball and get rid of that. Came right back to me. Otis enjoyed playing with those ping pong balls. He loves a ping pong ball, and he was in heaven when he had these 2 ping pong balls to play around with. So for the kind of torch looking thing, if you will, I have removed the trigger to launch that ball. And then you can see that I have these 2 Jenga pieces here. And I am going to glue these onto the back. Now, if you were going to use this and make this permanent, I would probably use like an E6000 or something like that. But for this purpose, the hot glue actually worked out really well. And these are still holding up to this day, which is really, really cool. Now we're going to take our 2 Jenga block pieces, and we're going to glue it onto our board. And we're going to make sure that that board does not interfere with the green part of that ball launcher there, because we're making some sconces with these. And we want everything to be able to hang nice and flat up against the wall. So once again, adding a nice bit of my all-purpose glue. This is a hot glue from Shorebonder. I'm going to go ahead and glue those together, and I'm just going to repeat this process for the second one. I took everything outside, and I gave it a nice coat of spray paint in this great bronzy copper color. I really wanted something that was going to stand out in my living room and something that would really pop against a lot of the navy accents that I have. And I freaking love the way that these look. But I did something a little different with the inside of these. Now, you could use a plain white tea light if you absolutely wanted to. I chose to use tea lights that change colors. I picked these up at Dollar Tree. I think they may have even been like a leftover Christmas item. I love the colors that come out from these. Again, you could certainly use a white tea light if you wanted to, but for a party, especially a New Year's Eve party or something, I think that these are really, really a lot of fun. And everybody that has seen these so far in my living room has absolutely no idea that these are Dollar Tree beach toys. I was so, so happy with this. We are going to take one of these ice buckets from Dollar Tree and this big bundle of twine that I picked up on Amazon. You can find twine at the Dollar Tree, though. We're going to remove this sticker and just pray to God that this Dollar Tree sticker comes off of here in one swoop. And the first one did, and let's see if I'm just as lucky with the second one. Yes. Sometimes those stickers are pretty aggressive. Now I'm going to take my bucket outside and I'm spray painting it with Rust-Oleum's matte black paint. I love to use spray paint. You could certainly use chalk paint and it would give you almost the same exact effect. What I like about the spray paint too is it's just easy. The day that I did this was a beautiful, bright, sunny day out. It was nice and warm out, so it was actually really, really easy for me to do. And I just made sure that since I was going to be doing both sides of this, that I didn't spray paint that handle area until I was able to, or until I was ready, rather, to kind of flip it around. And I did end up giving this 2 coats. I coated it on the inside and the outside. So
Once I've got everything done, now I'm going to take my twine. This twine is thicker than normal Dollar Tree twine. I personally love this twine. I buy it on Amazon all the time. It's actually featured in my Amazon store and linked below. I went ahead and just wrapped both of the handles with the twine and then used my lighter to kind of burn off any of those frayed edges. And I love the way this looks in my kitchen. I'm able to keep my K-cups in it. It's very, very easy for me to grab my coffee in the morning and sort through everything. We're going to be doing a project from Crafter Square Dollar Tree items. We're taking 2 of these Crafter Square wood planks that you can pick up in the Crafter Square section, and you're going to make sure that you've got the 2 smoother sides together. Now you want to kind of figure out, as close together as possible. Some of these Crafter Square items aren't exactly, uniformed. For mine, I was able to figure out which sides were going to fit together best. And I'm going to add some Shore Bonder wood glue onto the end of this. And we are just going to glue those 2 boards together kind of like so. And once I do have a really good hold on that, we are going to go ahead and just pull away any of that glue that might have seeped down through there. And then I do flip this over and I just add some oversized popsicle sticks across the seam there just to make sure that everything is holding down and everything is nice and firm. So once now we've got everything solid and everything together, it is time to go ahead and add those popsicle sticks. I had a little bit of it was a little loose feeling. So I wanted to make sure that that glue was going to hold really strongly. And as you can see there, I just picked it up and put it down. So it's holding nicely. Now I'm taking those oversized popsicle sticks and I am just going to add a gob of my glue right on top of that. And we're going to glue both of these sticks down and make sure that that also has a really good hold before we move on to the next step, which is incorporating some of the Dollar Tree wallpaper. Now, for this one, I am taking the Dollar Tree wallpaper and I am going to be covering the front of this. Now, you may remember in 2021, I was able to meet a subscriber named John Paul, and his mom sent me a kind of like a care package as a thank you. And she included some of this Dollar Tree wood grain wallpaper that I really liked. So I'm simply just going to join those 2 pieces together and I'm going to be gluing those directly down on top of my wood planks, making sure that the kind of the edges of the wallpaper kind of line up with each other. And here where it doesn't line up, it's not such a big deal because you will see that I'm going to be covering that up. Now, I did want to go ahead and make sure that my edges weren't this raw wood. I wanted this to feel like it was, a little more kind of ingrained, if you will, into the wood and a part of the wood wallpaper that you see. So I am just taking my ink chalk paint and I'm just painting right along the edges of all of this wood. And I'm going to then take my heat gun out and make sure that that is good and dry. And then I'm going to take kind of a little bit of my paint on my brush and I'm just going to kind of dry brush a little bit over the wallpaper and kind of wipe it away. And I'm doing that because it's kind of dulling down the wallpaper just a little bit, maybe giving it a little bit of a wood look versus being like a shiny wallpaper. And then I'm going to take this Dollar Tree garden hook. And I also have this Dollar Tree lid for a mason jar, and it's a lid hanger. We're going to take those and join those together. First, I'm going to take the bracket. I'm going to screw the bracket onto my wood board, and then I'm going to cut my chain down appropriately, and I've got a very cool industrial looking plant hanger that I really love. These Dollar Tree trays, some rope. Also have this Dollar Tree Plus wood round, and I thought that I could create this really cool looking coffee tray for my coffee bar. Now, the first thing I want to do with that wood round is use my antiquing wax from Waverly. I love this, and I literally just glob it right down on top of the surface because I've got my catch crafting mat, try saying that multiple times, my catch crafting mat down below that's going to absorb any of that stain that is spilled. I took my heat gun out and I'm just going to let that dry. And then we are going to pop that aside. The great thing about this catch crafting mat is that once it is done, I can literally peel it off from my beautiful white surface there. And you'll notice that not one single bit of that antiquing wax got in on my clean white work surface. So how about that for a really cool product? Now, go ahead and take your Dollar Tree kind of lattice or lace looking tray here and paint it. I'm using my spray paint from Rust-Oleum. This is the matte black that I love to use all the time. And I am going to paint both sides of my tray. I'm going to also make sure that I have a good coating on the kind of lattice part of that. I'm not so concerned on whether or not I get it completely covered in the center of the tray because that's where a wood round is going to come in. Now I did take my, my cutting machine and I did find a decal that I loved that was kind of oversized and it said something about coffee and it had these really great coffee beans on it and it said coffee please. For me, I thought that this was great. Now, if you don't have a cutting machine and you are a talented artist, you could certainly paint this. You could also use stickers. Dollar Tree has so many really cool sticker options that you can get from the Crafter Square section. I went ahead and just transferred this over. This is permanent vinyl, by the way, onto my wood surface, and it did take a little bit of extra work with the palette and everything, making sure that that was down. Now for my rope, because I need my rope to kind of fill in some of the edges there where that wood round is not, I just took a piece of my nautical rope and cut it to be the exact same size as my inner circle. That way you can see here how the coffee please part is going to lay in there. That way I don't have a kind of random space, for crumbs or whatever might end up on this tray. And then once I had my rope and everything set up, I just added more hot glue and then literally just kind of squished it down in between that wood round, making sure that everything was fitting and you don't even see it, which is kind of amazing because it is a perfect exact fit. Now, once I did finally get those ends together, I was super, super happy with this. I thought that this was the cutest tray in the world. I wanted this on my coffee table initially, but that would look kind of weird. So then I used it for my coffee in the morning. I would literally just put my coffee cup on it and maybe whatever I'm going to have for breakfast or my little spoon rest, just so I had a place to kind of drink my coffee and enjoy it in the morning. What I also really loved about this was that I thought it looked super great on my coffee bar as well. I loved the way that this looks. You could stage it with anything that you may use for your coffee. Also, with my particular tray, it was large enough to also hold my canisters, which I loved. Going to take one of these Dollar Tree bingo games. I have seen these at my Dollar Tree store so many different times and often always think, what can I do with them? What can I do with it? And I finally figured out something. Now, go ahead and take your bingo parts out of the box. And the only thing that we're going to be really using is this black base as well as this handle. You can put the balls and the pieces aside. We're actually not going to end up using those. I'm going to go ahead and just use a pair of pliers here and just break off the plastic on the bottom of the bingo game there. And then I'm going to add a Jenga wood block to help support the base of another wood piece I'm going to be adding to this after I spray paint everything this black color. Once again, using my favorite color, Rust-Oleum Black Matte Spray Paint. Giving this 2 coats, I then took it inside after it dried, and I started working on my wooden box. Now, for the wooden box, this is that wooden drawer or crate system that you can get from Dollar Tree's Crafter Square. I just took the drawer out, and I'm going to put that aside. I'm using my Waverly antiquing wax on this, and I am just going to wipe this down on all sides and also get some of the inside and the bottom of this. You'll want to make sure that this is just completely covered because you are going to be putting a plant in this, and you don't want the sides of that planter to show. I did not go all the way down to the bottom of my interior of my box. I did only go about halfway down, so it's really just low enough to be able to hide the rocks and everything that we're going to be adding to this planter. So once you've got everything all set up and stained and ready to go, it is time to go ahead and assemble this, or at least you're going to make it look like it is assembled and on that crank. Now, I took a piece of my dowel rod and I just kind of clipped it off, and I painted it using my Arteza paint marker here. And I am just doing this because I am going to insert this kind of in one side of where the handle would typically go for that box. Now you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and just take my box. I'm going to put that down on top, and then I'm going to take the handle on the one side and just glue it on the inside here. But again, I want to give this the illusion that this wooden box is kind of sitting on this base, if you will. So I'm going to then take my little piece of dowel rod and just feed that in there like so. And that gives it the look as if that crank or that handle is going all the way across the interior of that box. Then all you have to do is fill it with some rocks. These are rocks that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I added some succulents, and you've got the cutest planter. It's one of my larger DIYs. I needed an end table, and I had a great vintage suitcase that I've had it for quite a while. And I also found this really cool table base at Goodwill. And I took that table base and some of these pipe fitting bracket things, and that's the technical term for them, by the way. And I just went ahead and cleaned up my trunk. Now this trunk is really, really old, and it has been around the block. And that's kind of what I really love about it, to be honest. I wanted to give this trunk a new life. I had been using this in my fireplace, and I've used it for a couple different things, and I really wanted to make a table out of it. Now this base fit perfectly. I could not have asked for a better setup. So the first thing I did was just kind of figure out the height that I wanted to have my table at, and then I just simply marked it with my pencil. That way I knew where to go and drill in some of the holes. And I wanted to kind of make almost like pilot holes with this. So I used a drill bit that was actually smaller than the screws. And then I just held up one side and just screwed in those brackets right into the holes that I've got that are already in the bottom of that trunk. And then I just went ahead and did it and spread it out to the other side where the other holes were as well. Lined that up also, and just kind of screwed the legs onto the bottom of it, honestly. The one thing I will say is that I did end up removing the screws and spreading them out a little bit more, because when I did this, I neglected to measure how high I needed this side table to be, and it ended up being just a little bit too high for me. But when it's all done, this is what it looks like. I still have this side table in my living room. I absolutely love it. So many friends compliment me on it, and it is definitely one of my favorite pieces that I was able to create with a $5 thrift find. And we are going to do one of these oversized garlands that I found in places like Kirkland's. I found these 50mm wood balls on Amazon. You can also find them on Etsy, and I thought that they were going to be perfect. I could not find any square blocks, but I did pick these up at my local craft store, and I thought that I could just drill holes in them and it would be really easy. Then I have a real chunky piece of twine there. So I'm going to take 6 of these blocks, and also I'm going to match it up with 6 of the round wood beads. I'm going to go ahead and just drill a hole in the center of these. Now, I will tell you, I put down a piece of scrap wood there to kind of prevent myself from drilling all the way through and going into my table and through my mat there. And guess what? I did. I went right through the mat, and I also went right through the wood. So maybe use a thicker piece of scrap wood if you're going to do something like this. You know, what can I say? I was a bonehead. Now, I do want to make a really thick tassel because I feel like that the weight of this really needs a thick tassel. So I have this piece of scrap wood, and I am just going to use this to kind of use or I'm going to use this to make my tassel with. Now, I'm just kind of holding one piece of the twine in place there, and I'm just going to wrap it around this board until I have the thickness of the tassel that I want. Because this is such an oversized piece, I really want this tassel to also be big. So after I've got a generous amount of my twine kind of all wrapped on here, I'm going to slide this off of my wood, and then I'm going to kind of squeeze it together, and I'm going to put some tape across the middle of it because I'm going to come back to this in just a second. And now that I've got my tassel kind of all set up, I am going to now take a piece of my heavier twine here, and I'm just going to string it through, and I'm going to tie a knot, and I'm going to actually glue that extra piece of rope or that extra piece of twine down against the other one. That way, when I thread my beads, it literally goes right over top of that, and that'll make more sense as we start to kind of piece everything together. So I'm going to kind of dust off my workstation here, and I'm going to start threading my beads. I'm going to take this square one first and just go all the way through. We're going to drag it all the way down to the bottom there, and then this is kind of where I'm talking about tucking in that little piece. Now, I didn't glue it down quite yet because I wanted to make sure that I had the right size twine. I'm actually out of twine, so I'm going to make this one work. But I'm going to just thread my pieces just like you would if you were working with a smaller piece of wood. And I'm going to create my garland with this. Now, this, I wanted to keep this natural wood because I really do like this natural wood. I have a lot of navy. I have a lot of black, I have a lot of natural wood pieces and even darker wood pieces in my home. And I really wanted this to be able to contrast. So if it sat on my console, for example, or my television center, it would pop against the wood, which is really, really dark. My coffee table is a black metal and glass coffee table. So again, I thought that this would work really, really well. So I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot at the end of that. And that's just so I can kind of finish working with this and making sure that it's the right size and length. I'm going to go ahead and remove this tape here because this is already tied together. And then once I've got that tape removed, I'm going to take some regular twine and I'm just going to tie this in a knot. And I'm going to make sure that that knot is extremely tight. And then I'm just going to start wrapping around, and I'm going to wrap this around to where it looks really good with this larger tassel. You know, it's a larger tassel. I want the kind of rope that's tying everything together, kind of creating that tassel to also look substantial. I'm using a smaller piece of twine because I didn't want to use kind of what was left. And as you can see here, this is also where I tucked in that other piece that was glued down, and now you've got everything nice and tight. And then for the kind of ringlets at the end there, this is where we're going to start to create our tassel. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut each of these. I'm actually cutting them individually versus just kind of putting my scissors through all of them because I want to pull them to their kind of tightest length. And then once I've got everything cut tight and everything cut into the straight lines, then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of smooth them out, flatten them out, and then trim them off to be the exact same length all the way down around. And then for the other end of my tassel, I'm going to take that same loop knot that I kind of created when I tied everything off. And all I'm going to do is just kind of redo that same exact knot. But this time, I'm going to make sure that that knot is really close to the end of that block. That way I have a really nice, tight garland here that I can use on my coffee table. And when it's all done, this is what it looks like. I absolutely love this. I love the entire setup here that I've got. And I think that this is going to look amazing. I'm actually going to keep this in my office. And I'm so, so excited for it and so happy with it. Next DIY, this is a little square block organizer that came from Crafter Square. I did this in a shopping haul not too long ago, and I said I was going to kind of create like a valet for this for my dresser where I can put rings and, you know, pocket change and bracelets and watches and different things like that as I kind of take them off at the end of the day. I also had these half wood rounds that I picked up on Amazon. I've used these in a couple DIYs, and I'm kind of down to my last 30 of these, so I will definitely be ordering more of these. These are in my Amazon store. If you want to check it out, go for it. They're really, really versatile, and I actually really liked working with them. Now, for the valet itself, what the idea here is that I'm going to take these wood beads and I'm going to glue them on the side of my tray here to create kind of a valet station, if you will. And what I do with anything like this, especially where I know I'm going to be doing like 5 on each side, I will place one down, then I will go to the opposite side. I will stick another wood bead down, and then in the middle, I will add another wood bead. That way I've got about the approximate, correct kind of spacing. And then after that center one is glued down, then I will put the other 2 to the left and to the right of that. So once that is all done, I worked my way all the way around and did all 4 sides the exact same way. Now, I wanted something that would really pop off of my dresser, which is a dark brown color. And so for this, I'm going to use the ink chalk paint from Waverly. And I am literally just going to paint every single nook and cranny of this tray. I'm going to paint the inside, the outside, the backside, the underside, like every single part of this is going to be completely covered in this ink chalk paint from Waverly. Now, I'm using a certain kind of brush because I want to be able to get really, really close to the edges there and make sure that none of those wood pieces are kind of showing through, or wood, unfinished wood areas that might be exposed because of the way I glued down those beads. I made sure that I used just a little bit of hot glue under each one of those wood beads. That way I could kind of purposely shove that brush kind of underneath each one of those. That way I really did get great coverage with these. On the bottom, I just glued some of these felt pads down, and you've got the perfect little valet station. I love the way that this turned out. You could put jewelry in this. I think you could even flip it upside down without the felt pads on it and use it as a candle riser. There's so many great things that you can do, and I really love the way that this project turned out. This is definitely going to be something that I keep for a long time in my home. I'm going to be recycling this old DIY. This is a tray that I did around Christmas time with this buffalo check center. And then I also have this faux ribbon, this faux leather ribbon from Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is remove that vinyl that I stuck down in the center. This is Dollar Tree's vinyl, and it's removable. And as you can see, it works. It's definitely removable. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean this up and get this ready to go outside and to spray paint this one. Now, I am fortunate because right now we are in the mid 60s in Atlanta, and I can actually get outside and spray paint some stuff. So I am going to spray paint this down and just give it 2 coats of my matte black spray paint from Rust-Oleum. This is a spray paint that I really like to use, and I actually found that you can get a pretty good deal on it when you buy it in bulk on Amazon. This is kind of one of my staple colors. I always have this color on hand. I tend to use this color a lot for a lot of different projects, so I do just go ahead and buy it in bulk. Now, it doesn't look like it from the footage that you're seeing, but I did actually give this 2 coats. I let the first coat dry, and then I went outside and just spray painted it 1 additional time with that Rust-Oleum paint. Now, I'm going to be using this faux leather ribbon, and I'm also going to be using that super glue tape that you see. Then I also have those stick-on gemstones, and the idea here is that I am going to be putting this ribbon on each corner of the tray. Now, to do that, I want to make sure that I have 6 inches of ribbon on each side of the tray. Now, the length is totally up to you. I really like the way that the 6 inches worked. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take my ribbon, and I am going to measure out 6 inches for 4 pieces. And to do that, all I'm doing is just lining up my ruler here. I'm going to take my Sharpie pen. I did flip the ribbon upside down though, just so you know. And I am going to just mark where I'm going to be cutting this.
This first one, I was probably a little aggressive with the line. You could really just do a tick mark if you want, totally up to you. Just make sure that when you cut this, you do cut on that line. And now I'm gonna go ahead and take my super glue tape and just also measure out a piece of the tape that is the same length as the ribbon. What's so great about this super glue tape, which I did pick up at Dollar Tree, by the way, is that you can trim this up really, really easy, and it is also double-sided. So as you can see right now on those 4 pieces, I've got my super glue tape ready to go. And I am just going to be peeling away that backing. Now, I want to make sure that this is going to be the perfect size, and I want the crease to be perfect. So what I'm also going to be doing is measuring down to the halfway point of this. That way I can mark where I need to fold this and then stick it to each corner. So by marking this, it really gives me a good idea of where I need to fold each one of my ribbons. That way, when it fits on the corner of my tray, it's evenly spread out, and the length is even across each one of the corners. So hopefully that's making sense. All I'm doing here is just lining up those pieces that I've got ready to go with that super glue tape, and I am just marking where that kind of halfway point is, and then I am going to start folding these and creasing them. That way, when I pull the backing off of the back of the super glue tape, I know exactly where it's supposed to go. I really love working with the super glue products, and I actually am using a lot of super glue products in today's video, which I did pick up from Dollar Tree. Now, as you can see here, I've gone through and I put my tape on all 4 sides, or my ribbon, but it's not done yet. Now, I want to give this the effect of nail heads, and that this has some, really cool nail heads on it. And I had these gemstones that are fabric glue gemstones, and I thought that these would be perfect. Now, if you had those flat thumbtacks, that would be perfect. I looked all over the place at Dollar Tree for them, could not find them anywhere, and of course, I'm sure I'll find them when I go into Dollar Tree the next time. I just super glued all 4 of those gemstones, or 2 gemstones on each ribbon, all the way around. And as you can see, this is what the tray looks like when it's done. I love this. It looks so high-end. I think this is super gorgeous. I'm so happy with the way this turned out. But what I really like about it is how it looks when it is staged. This is going to be fantastic on my coffee table. I love everything about this, and I hope that you will love it as much as I do. All right, everyone, and for the next project, I've got these 3 cardboard rings. These came with a cookware set that my mom got me for Christmas. And when I saw them, I didn't want to throw them away. I knew I could figure out something to do with them. And I started kind of playing around with them and realized that all of the rings would fit together kind of like an orb. And if you've been to like Home Goods or Kirkland's or At Home or any of those types of stores, these little orbs can be very, very expensive. And so I fit it together. I didn't even have to super glue or use anything for, and I took it outside, and I'm using this copper spray paint. Now, I do think that if you're going to be spray painting, especially cardboard, having a metallic spray paint does really help a lot, because it gives it a different look. It really elevates the look. It gives it a polished look. If you use like a flat spray paint of some kind, I think that it would really kind of highlight the fact that it's cardboard. You'd see the texture maybe even. So if you didn't want to go with a metallic, maybe you wanted to do these like black, for example, I would recommend that you use a gloss spray paint just to really take away from that, the fact that it's cardboard. And then after it's, dried on the one side, I kind of rolled it around and just kind of spray painted it again, kind of working in and out of those cardboard pieces. And when it's done, this is what it looks like. I think that it is super, super gorgeous. And again, when you pair it with that gorgeous tray that I made earlier and some books and a plant, it really creates a cool impact on the coffee table. And I am so, so happy with it. And that next project, these 2 wood cubes came from Crafter Square. Then I have these wood candle holders that I picked up. I believe these either came from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I am
going to make some very simple candle stands. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, which is probably the hardest thing of ever, is remove these darn stickers from the Dollar Tree. I will say that these stickers usually come off the Crafter Square stuff pretty easily. I think they're finally listening to us. Now, for the wood grains, if you are going to stain this, I would recommend that you make sure that your wood grains are kind of going the same way. However, for mine, I'm actually not going to be using wood stain or my favorite antique wax from Waverly. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to be using my next favorite thing, which is paint. I'm going to be using the chalk paint from Waverly in the color ink to paint these up. But before I do that, I do need to use some super glue because I am going to glue these wood candlesticks on top of here. Now, the idea here is to just put a generous amount of glue in the center, but not so much that it's going to seep out. And even if it does seep out, you can sand it off really, really easily. The other great thing about this is that you can actually paint over top of it, where if you're using a stain or a wax, you can't always get within or under that glue. So sometimes that creates a problem. The great thing about using super glue is that you can sand it off really, really easily, and you can easily even paint on top of it. So again, I'm just kind of placing these down. I'm going to put the cap on my glue here before, that way I can just set that down and know that I'm not going to have any leakage or anything. And then again, just bringing out that Waverly ink chalk paint, which I do love working with. And I am just going to give everything a super generous coat of my ink paint. Now, I am going to do all sides of my candle holders here, and I'm going to completely cover them in this black ink chalk paint. Now, again, this could be such a great look for farmhouse. If you painted these white and then distressed them, you could paint these red, you could paint them pink, you can paint them any color you want, but I think painting them black really gives these a very kind of high-end modern look. And for kind of the grouping that I'm doing today with these kind of high-end DIYs, I really love the way that these looked when it was all done. So after I ended up painting everything, I did take my heat gun to it just to kind of speed up that process, because I hate waiting for paint to dry. It's kind of like watching water boil for me. And again, I am just using my heat gun and just going to go ahead and get all of that chalk paint dry. And then when these are all done, this is what they look like. I am so happy with these. I think that they're absolutely beautiful exactly the way they are. However, if you pair them up, put them on a tiered tray or a coffee table tray like the one that I made in the first DIY in this video, you've got a very cohesive and very beautiful set that I am so happy with. And if you didn't feel comfortable putting the regular candles in this, by all means use those battery operated candles that you can also get from Dollar Tree. All right, you guys, let me know in the comments below which projects were your favorite. I definitely have some favorites, and I still have a lot of those items actually that I still use in my home decor now to this day. Also, I want to thank Liquid IV for sponsoring today's video. They have been a game changer for me, and I truly appreciate everything that they are doing, not only for myself, but also for you guys with that 20% discount. Be sure and check that link in my description box below. Not only do you save 20%, but you're also going to get free shipping. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.